Yoshin here, sorry for the late upload, hope you like and subscribe and hit the bell notification button. Anyways, let's begin. Naruto of the Six Eyes. Training Ground 7. Well, I do try my best, shall we continue? Naruto noticed the change in Kakashi's posture. This fight was about to change gear. These people are going to be my team, and Kakashi will be my sensei. It's important he has an understanding of some of my abilities. I suppose I'll show some moves off here then. Even if he can't help directly, surely his knowledge will help me apply and utilize them better. Having made up his mind to show his hand to this team, Naruto this time adopted his usual battle strategy. He waited for Kakashi to engage him. Having gained the attention of the Jonin, Naruto assumed the man would indulge him a little more than he would have at the beginning of their fight and would attack to see what Naruto was trying to show him. As he hoped, Kakashi did indeed instigate the next attack. Jumping in towards him, Kakashi appeared behind him and attempted to trip him with a quick leg sweep. Once again Naruto clasped his hands and vanished. Appearing behind Kakashi himself, he raised his right leg for a kick at his opponent's face as he turned to face him. Kakashi leaned his head to the side and allowed the kick to sail past him, then attempted to take advantage of the missed attack and went to grab the leg, only for it along with Naruto to vanish again. This time, however, Naruto didn't appear behind Kakashi but directly in front of him, ducking under the arm Kakashi raised to catch the kick. Naruto took a swipe for the unprotected bells at his waist. Kakashi only had just enough time to jump back and make distance, though not before Naruto managed a touch at one of the bells. Naruto stood back up from his crouched position and looked to his potential future sensei. The man was looking at him weirdly, as if he couldn't figure something out. Well, if it was how he was moving around as he was, Naruto would explain it to him, but not just yet. If Kakashi wanted any chance to figure it out, he would need to bring out that eye, and that would surely be embarrassing for such a renowned man. But it would also tire him out, so a win-win scenario for Naruto. Trying to take advantage of his opponent's distraction, Naruto vanished without the hand sign. He once again went for a kick, this time forcing Kakashi to block by crossing his arms over himself. The blow knocked Kakashi's hands up and forced him to slide back in the mud. Naruto moved forwards again and held his index finger on his right hand up while moving his left hand in front to cover whatever was happening from the gray-haired mon's sight. Chakra technique reversal. Red. Naruto seen a red ball appear hovering above the tip of his finger and allowed it to go off. The result was an abrupt repellent force smashing into Kakashi and throwing him back into the air. The man easily corrected his flight path with a flip and landed on the ground. Looking around immediately, he seen no one in front of him. Then by pure instinct he spun around at full speed to his left and landed a back fist to the figure who had appeared and made an attempt at the bells. Kakashi felt the contact and immediately worried. Damn, he actually got me. He teleported behind me while I was flying and didn't allow me to see when he moved or where. I acted on instinct there and slammed my fist into him because he got past my guard. That was my full power. That could kill him. Kakashi fully turned around hoping his student was okay, but it was likely he would be out cold or worse. Only to see him completely fine. The boy had moved away, clearly surprised at the amount of force he had encountered on that attempt, but he was completely unharmed. Naruto, how are you unharmed? I hit you there, at my full power. I know I felt the contact. Kakashi questioned. Well, that was scary. Seriously, that force could have knocked my head off. You're certainly a powerful shinobi. Likely one of the top few in the village. Naruto answered back, ignoring the request to explain his survival. Seriously though, that was scary. I acted purely on instinct to activate it on time there. Even with my advanced perception time, I barely seen that coming. Well, that's always what I assumed its current weakness was anyway. Realizing Naruto wasn't going to explain himself, Kakashi decided he would force him to. Naruto seen Kakashi appear before him again and only just leaned to the side on time to avoid the jab at his nose. Kakashi continued to throw punches and kicks, and the blonde was struggling to keep up now as Kakashi upped his pace and power with each time Naruto dodged or blocked a shot. Kakashi pulled out a kunai and began to swipe across his body, and Naruto had to push himself to his best to keep up. Seeing the kunai headed towards his left shoulder, he pivoted to his side and allowed it to pass by harmlessly while also moving into Kakashi's guard. He threw a quick hook to the body, and it struck cleanly and powerfully. He was using it, not to defend himself this time but to increase the power of his blows. When he seen the knee Kakashi raised to hit him on the nose, he attempted to back away only to realize the kunai he had dodged earlier was again on its way to be stabbed into his back if he moved. Seeing no other way out, he again warped and appeared behind Kakashi, who spun and threw the kunai behind him at Naruto while he was reaching for Kakashi's vest. Naruto was forced to abandon his attempt to land a clean hit and dodge, which allowed the Jonin to attack. Now well over Jonin speeds in his offense, Kakashi forced Naruto solely on the back foot. He felt like he was beginning to make glancing blows now, but Naruto still appeared like they were not even bothering him. Kakashi faked a heavy kick to Naruto's face, and when the blonde held his hands across to block, he changed trajectory and kicked the inside of the boy's left knee. Realizing his mistake faster than would be possible without his eyes, Naruto raised his leg just in time to lift it over the kick, and then using Kakashi's precarious position to his advantage, he spun, keeping his foot raised and only extended it out, landing a heavy blow backed up by an accompanying unseen force to the Jonin's side. Skidding back a few feet, Kakashi had enough and began to fight totally earnestly, only without any intent to seriously harm or kill his student. Leaving Naruto up against all Kakashi could offer, without of course any jutsu or unveiling his eye. He began dominating the fight and landed many blows to Naruto's side and arms, and although he felt the contact, Naruto showed no ill effects or any sight of slowing down. If anything, he was beginning to keep up better the more he was pushed. Like he was adapting instantly mid-fight to this level of combat. Naruto went to make distance and secure his position, but he was afforded no space or time. He leaned back almost horizontal to avoid a spin kick that would have knocked him clean out, and had to retreat backward via a backward handstand when Kakashi planted his foot from the kick and moved forwards to grab him by the shirt. Naruto, not wanting to be overrun, began to fight back. He grabbed the hand that tried to catch him and held his opponent in place. Then he drove an open palm into Kakashi's stomach, landing 3 blows to the man before he let go and spun around to his left, raising his leg and aiming his left heel to kick the man away. But Kakashi was far from incapacitated. Though the blows hurt and appeared to be laced with some unseen force to apply extra impact, this man was not one of the best in reputation alone. He easily avoided the heel flying for his chest by landing on the ground and simply focusing on moving at his full speed. He appeared right in front of Naruto, his fist already in motion, and aimed the hit to the boy's stomach. Naruto's eyes widened as he watched the man all but teleport in front of him. He couldn't warp. The technique wouldn't take effect fast enough due to his oversight in thinking he had actually hurt this man. He'd have to show it again, but this time there would be no hiding it. Last time Kakashi hadn't been looking at him, he had yet to turn to him, and he had been unable to see the impact clearly thanks to the flow of combat the few times he had landed in this last exchange. But now, he was watching. As had happened last time Kakashi felt his fist impact with Naruto, he watched the boy with his uncovered eye at full attention. He had briefly considered revealing the other one, but for one thing that would be embarrassing, he didn't even unveil that for some weaker Jonin. To do it against a genin, or rather potential genin, would be ridiculous. But it would also force him to explain himself to another person here, and he had no desire for that if he might not even pass this team. The boy in front of him stood still, even after the punch connected. He looked up into Kakashi's eye, then simply took a step backwards. He was fine. He showed no pain, no injury, absolutely nothing. What the hell are you made of? I hit you really hard there, and you didn't even wince. You just took that on your stomach with no repercussions. No, that's impossible. Kakashi seriously needed to figure this out. This boy's potential was ridiculous. He was actually keeping up with him at what easily amounted to Jonin level speeds. Naruto himself was beginning to move at speeds a boy his age would usually need a Sharingan to perceive. An evident ability granted by his eyes was either future sight or seriously advanced perception. Naruto was beginning to move and dodge at the same time Kakashi began to move to attack. He reacted instantly, acting almost as though he had minutes to choose the best course of action within a split second. He was able to keep up at that level and then return fire onto him. If Kakashi wasn't as durable as he is, those hits he took to allow him a surefire attack would have actually ended this fight. Naruto sighed. He was going to explain it anyway, but he hadn't wanted Kakashi to think he had to force him to. This just made the man suspicions of what he was hiding and why he was hiding it. Well, no, not quite. You didn't actually hit me. Naruto replied. Don't be ridiculous, I felt that, I know I landed that blow. Whatever. Here, come on over. Naruto stuck his hand out and waved Kakashi over to him. Come on, I'll show you, he continued waving his hand at the man. Deciding to humor the kid, Kakashi moved over to him and stuck his hand out, attempting to place his hand on Naruto's. He was bewildered when his hand stopped a good inch before the kid's. Trying to push it further, he couldn't seem to move it any closer at all. Wah, I can't touch him, not even a little. Kakashi looked up from their hands at the boy. See, I told you, Naruto said, proving his earlier statement true. I have more than one hereditary ability. Well, I assume it's hereditary at least. This is Mukujin. Limitless, it's the basis for all the more physical abilities you've seen from me. The 6 eyes, as far as I can tell, are what's needed to truly utilize it, though. None of what I've done could be used without them, at least not how I do. The concentration and ability needed to use these is so great that without the eyes to match, it's likely none could be realistically used in combat. The enemy won't just stop and let you focus for a few seconds, will they? Okay, but how were you doing that? You said the ability was called Mukujin, and that it encompasses all your attacks, so how did you stop me? Or teleport? Was that how you pushed me away when you covered your hand from me? Kakashi seriously needed to hear this. He was so caught up he forgot he gave Naruto his hand, or rather wasn't expecting it to be used against him. I will tell you, but not just now, yeah. After all, you might not even be my sensei if we can't pass here. With that, he locked his hand with Kakashi's and made a move for the bells. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get more than a touch at them once again. Kakashi threw him away with enough force to tear apart the hold Naruto had. But before the fight could continue, Naruto warped away from the field and into the trees, hoping that the fight was enough to have achieved his goal. To force his team together, having realized the impossibility of victory alone. Kakashi stood now alone in the field, contemplating the newly discovered factors surrounding Uzumaki Naruto. Seems like the kid may have already sussed me out. I did lay it a little heavy on them with pushing them together. But I assumed the tension would have still been effective at disrupting logical thinking and evaluation, enough to make it difficult at least. Kakashi wasn't so surprised actually, he already knew Naruto hadn't ever really shown off. Everyone who could think logically and disregard any bias they held against him could. But the extent of the abilities shown, and Naruto even claiming that they were the result of an inherent ability completely separate from the 6 eyes, was a shocker. Perhaps he set me up here, led me around by the nose. Not in a way to win the fight, but to ensure he could get his teammates to comply with his theory about the pass criteria for my bell test. Ha ha ha. What a kid. Within the forest, Sasuke stood where he had set up camp at the start of the test. He had been setting up his traps when he heard some type of explosion and rushed over to watch the fight. He arrived back just in time to see Naruto appear behind their distracted instructor, having apparently sent him flying. He watched as the fight escalated after Kakashi appeared frustrated from the attempt. From his distance and angle he couldn't hear them or see in great detail, but he watched Kakashi approach Naruto and appear shocked by something after appearing to land a solid clean blow on the boy, moving at speeds that had Sasuke's jaw drop. After Naruto left, he watched Kakashi contemplate something before laughing to himself and then vanishing. Assuming the man was moving onto him and Sakura, Sasuke began to prepare himself. He checked up on his traps and supplies before lying in wait. After a minute or two he heard Sakura scream and assumed she had been taken out. Despite her annoyance, he wanted to go see if she was okay, but left it to Naruto, who was likely to have some free time from the silver-haired Jonin after their fight. After waiting a few minutes, he finally spotted Kakashi. The man was crouched on a tree branch, seemingly inspecting one of his traps. Though he wasn't worried, he had laid out a few that were like red herrings. They were easy to spot and maneuver around, but doing so would lead you into the path of another far superior trap. The idea was to allow the man to believe himself to be safe, them spring on him and overwhelm him alongside a constant barrage of traps. Well, it's well made, that I can attest to. However, when your opponent is of a higher level and age than you, it's best to assume that their experience outmatches even well-made traps. It was a good idea, and it shows good behavior and understanding that you were busy during the time I gave you while fighting Naruto, but you'll need more than this to get a bell. With that said, Kakashi purposefully set off the trap, causing a chain reaction that led off the hidden one Sasuke hoped would catch him off guard. Not all was lost. He had seen this one, but others were scattered about, and this time Kakashi would be engaged in active combat rather than having time to look it over. "Don't be so cocky," he yelled as he jumped in to fight the man. Kakashi was impressed with the boy. He was fluid and his moves clearly refined over years of practice. He deflected a punch aimed to his stomach and off to the side and marveled at how comfortably and quickly Sasuke adjusted his body, to not only keep his momentum but cover the opening Kakashi made in his form. Had he wanted to, Kakashi could have hit him there, but against maybe even a lower level Chunin, that opening would be impossible to exploit. Sasuke continued his barrage. He jumped up and pushed off a branch above him to gain power as he flipped and landed an axe kick which Kakashi blocked above his head with a forearm. Still, the blow almost buckled the arm. Sasuke then pushed off the arm and spun around again, aiming a kick to the man's neck with his right leg. The Jonin caught it with his left hand and held Sasuke's ankle, but not deterred, Sasuke merely raised himself up using the leverage and tried to stomp the man's face with his left foot. Once again Kakashi caught the attack, only for Sasuke to again make another attempt. The boy brought his elbows down in a slam to the top of the Jonin's head and forced the man to flip him backwards, using his hold on both legs to do so, to throw the blow off course. Kakashi once again couldn't help but praise the ingenuity of those attacks. To maneuver himself 3 separate times to better positions while I was holding him and restricting movement is incredible. He continued to look for openings I made when blocking him and take advantage of them. Great thinking and battle sense. Unfortunately though, he's still quick to anger. He's competitive and gets frustrated when a fight's not going his way despite all the effort. As he had observed, Sasuke was getting angry, his punches and kicks losing some accuracy and finesse in exchange for wild power drawn from his frustration. Realizing he had already seen the best of Sasuke, he purposely set off a trap he had been avoiding, likely one of the reasons the child was so angry and allowed the wires to wrap him up. Jumping at the opportunity, Sasuke changed his plans and upped the ante. Finally, take this. Fire style. Grand Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke launched his power move, the signature jutsu of his clan, in an attempt to burn the man who had so easily dealt with him and avoided all the traps he laid out. In doing so, he blocked his view of his opponent. After a few seconds, the fireball hit its target and erupted into flames. The surrounding trees all suffered the aftereffects and burned. When Sasuke moved over to the branch, he found nothing there, and was taken off guard when he was pushed off the tree. Looking up while falling, he seen the silver-haired man wave at him from the branch. Positioning himself to land properly, the boy looked up to his adversary in the trees. "Your grasp of taijutsu is fantastic for someone of your age and position. It's likely that the only way to improve it is through real combat experience, along with fighting superior practitioners of the art. Of course, that's all technique and physical ability. It will also take a massive leap when you activate your Sharingan." Kakashi began his lecture, still looking down on the boy from above. He could see the more he said, the more annoyed Sasuke got, even if the boy recognized what he was saying was true. "But you have a major weakness that is easy to exploit." What weakness?" Sasuke forced himself to reply through ground teeth. He felt like this man was looking down on him, not in the physical sense but mentally. "Your anger blinds you, Sasuke. You got annoyed, and so when shown an inch of success you threw everything at it, oblivious to the fact it could be a trap. I used your anger against you and lured you into using such an ninjutsu, and although an impressive feat, your application of it was wrong. You blinded yourself to my movements and tired yourself out, letting go of your chakra control to make it bigger. Perhaps that's a little hypocritical considering I lost track of an enemy earlier, but that was not of my own doing." Kakashi thought to himself. Sasuke looked incensed at the idea he was manipulated in such a way, but seemed to accept it. "I want you to think about this. What could you have done better in this situation? How could you have made better use of my situation when tangled in wire? But just to drive home my point about losing view of an opponent." As he spoke those words, 2 hands popped up out of the ground below Sasuke and pulled him under up to his head. Sasuke was taken aback by this and looked up to the Kakashi he had been speaking to, only to see him smile before poofing into smoke to signify some type of clone jutsu. The hands that had dragged him under rose until the full body of Kakashi was standing before him. I'm sure Naruto will be along soon, likely with Sakura to free you. But consider this for when he comes, make the right decision." And with that the man jumped off into the trees. Elsewhere with Naruto and Sakura. Naruto looked over his shoulder at his companion. He had found her when Kakashi appeared in front of her. He had prepared himself to intervene should he try to physically combat her, but he simply placed her in a genjutsu, likely trying to measure her aptitude for the field. He left evidently disappointed when she fell prey to the first one and fainted from whatever she was shown. Naruto had dropped down then and woken and calmed her, explaining what had happened. He had then broached the subject he was there to speak with her about. At first the girl was vehemently against teaming with Naruto. She had thought he was trying to trick her into abandoning Sasuke and leaving him out. But thankfully her supposed intelligence kicked in when Naruto began to explain his theory. She was forced to consider the plausibility of his words, and to top it off Naruto asked her what her chances were without his proposed plan. She had watched him go toe-to-toe with the man, unveiling tricks no one had seen before, moving at his peak, and he was only able to touch the bells. It made sense that Kakashi would up his level if he feared one of them might actually get a bell without meeting his true criteria to pass. That's why he tried so hard against Naruto but lowered his level for her. He likely wouldn't let them get a bell no matter their level until they came together and showed him what he wanted from them. Having decided Naruto was right, she joined him as they made their way to recruit Sasuke. He was likely to be the hardest to convince. He had a bit of something to prove, and would dislike the insinuation he couldn't get a bell from the man by himself. As they were moving, Naruto watched the fight between Sasuke and Kakashi from a distance, too long for Sakura to see lest she want to rush ahead. Naruto wanted a look at Sasuke in a different combat environment, but he also thought the boy would be easier to convince if he was defeated here, so long as he wasn't in too foul a mood to listen to them. Arriving after Kakashi buried the boy to the head in the ground, Naruto considered that he might have made an error in judgment there. Sasuke looked like he wanted to strangle the life out of the silver-haired man, and his ire would likely befall them solely due to connivance and proximity. "Oh no, Sasuke-kun, are you okay?" Sakura rushed forwards to the young Uchiha the moment she seen him. She fretted around him, panicked and angry at Kakashi for just leaving him like this. "Oi Sakura, that's enough for now. Remember, there are things we need to do and time's running out. We likely only have 30 minutes left," Naruto called out to her, inadvertently bringing both people's attention to him. "Tch, just leave, I can get out of here on my own. I don't need you." Sasuke spoke and tried to struggle his way out, but it appeared he was well and truly stuck. "I'm afraid you do need us, and not just for this situation." Sasuke looked confused at the blonde, but still Naruto could hardly take him seriously, just being ahead and all. "I'm going to leave you in there." He received a shout and a glare at that proclamation. "Until after I've finished explaining." "I don't care what you're explaining, let me out." Sasuke didn't seem receptive to his idea, and he would lose Sakura as well if he continued to treat him like this, so Naruto thought to make it quick. "You will care when you don't pass." Now with some quiet Naruto began. "To put it simply, this test isn't about the bells. They're a distraction meant to divert our attention away from the true purpose, and the reason there are only two is to incite conflict within this team." Naruto briefly explained. He received a blank stare in return. "What? That's ridiculous. What would Kakashi have to gain from doing something like that?" Sasuke reasoned. "A fair point, if you believe that Kakashi is trying to pass us. I don't think he wants us to pass, especially if we don't have the qualities he wants from us. Kakashi has set this test up to separate us. He wants us to disregard his orders and mission parameters, and instead come at him as a team." Naruto reasoned. "It's impossible for us to beat him. Hatake Kakashi is legendary. He fought in the Third Great War as a Jonin when he was our age. He's known around the world, and within the village is considered at the top of the shinobi elite, only behind the Hokage and Sannin. That's the person we're supposed to take a bell from." "I don't think so. It's a trick. The real test here is on us as a team. We're going to have to come together, all three of us, and show him we won't abandon a teammate for a short-sighted goal. That we are trustworthy." Sasuke listened to the speech and considered the idea. "It's not unreasonable. We know he's tricky. He made me and Sakura come here without having breakfast, then made us wait hours before arriving. Plus, he wasn't trying as hard against me as he did Naruto. Surely, he would have let Naruto get a bell had he been solely measuring our power and skill. It's as if he's waiting for something more. Make the right decision. Is this what he meant? Did he know Naruto had figured it out and would bring this idea to me? Then the right decision is. Center of Training Ground 7. Kakashi stood waiting for something to happen. He had known Naruto was around when he incapacitated Sakura. While a little cold, he understood the boy's logic in waiting for him. He had just fought Kakashi and knew there was nothing to gain from it. He wouldn't pass by fighting even if he managed to get a bell. Plus, he assumed that had he tried to actually hurt her, Naruto would have intervened. Well, they're running out of time. Perhaps Naruto really couldn't convince Sasuke. Even after the tip I gave him, Kakashi sighed at the thought. Poor boy, so wound up in himself and his past, he's actively holding himself back, though after my report it's likely Naruto will be passed anyway. Hokage-sama isn't foolish enough to disregard such potential and power, plus he has actually figured it out. Kakashi was amused to see Naruto land in front of him. He sensed the other two lying in wait and couldn't help the genuine smile that bloomed because of it. Well, never mind. They've done it, though let's see what we'll be working with synergy-wise as a Team A. Naruto watched the man in front of him. He knew already that they had come together, but wanted to see it in action. Naruto understood that and so signaled the first phase. It likely didn't matter the level of this attack, only that they had understood the test and come together. At least he hoped so. A second later and a hail of kunai came flying from the tree line. Sakura was within. They were all targeted at the Jonin and forced him to jump up into the air. As he did so, Sasuke appeared from his own spot. Having just finished weaving hand signs, he blew another fireball at the man, this time controlling the chakra and range better. Kakashi though substituted and allowed the summoned log to take the hit. He tried to capitalize on Sasuke's blind spot created by the technique again to surprise him, but was met with resistance from Naruto, who appeared before him, blocking his path to Sasuke's back. The Uchiha spun around and leapt over Naruto and behind Kakashi. He found a kunai thrown into the air near him from Sakura with explosive tags lit on the handle and threw it back towards the two dueling shinobi. Naruto, who knew what was coming, warped away from the blast radius, having kept Kakashi busy as long as possible, not allowing him to retreat. As the blast went off, so too did the alarm, signifying the end of their time. Well, we did our best, but we spent too much time separate to really make an attempt for the bells here, but I think that went well, the sequence I mean. It wasn't super high level, but it had all the necessary basics done right. Naruto spoke to his teammates, who seemed nervous and seriously exhausted. Having not eaten and been awake for a while, Sasuke had struggled to use that second fireball and keep it under control, and Sakura never had particularly impressive stamina. I agree 100%, Naruto. This was almost a last desperate gambit with the remaining time. But it was exactly what I wanted. Kakashi spoke up, having avoided the tag via substitution again. You three need to understand that teamwork is everything here. We protect our team and in return they protect us. But it's more than that. We are each from this same place. We each protect the will of fire passed down. This is the most important lesson I will teach you, and it's not any of the shinobi arts. Those who abandon the rules are trash. That is true, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. An old friend said that to me, and that is what being a shinobi of Konoha means. This is the standard. Without this, you'll never be a shinobi here. Each of the three kids looked at the man as he gave his impassioned speech. The man seemed so genuine when revealing the words of his friend to them. You could truly see who Hatake Kakashi was in that moment. As Naruto mentioned, you didn't have much time but showed basic teamwork well. In truth, you passed the moment you banded together and disregarded the false objective. Kakashi looked at each of the kids before him. Sakura, you had the worst performance. You have little physical conditioning and stamina and are easily spotted as the weakest link in your team. You made the right choice to stay in cover and support how you could from a distance, Kakashi said to the saddened girl. She knew it was true, but it still hurt. That being said, it's not something that we can allow to remain unchanged. You may do and helped how you could here, but in the future, you'll be capable of more. Perhaps even as a medic, or through supplementary genjutsu. Kakashi ended off with his plans and expectations, raising the girl's head a bit. She needed to know there was ways to help and get better from here on. She just needed to work at it. Sasuke, we already spoke earlier. You did a good job adapting the fireball here, and with Naruto covering your back you were perfectly safe to utilize your ninjutsu. I'll leave what we spoke of earlier to you. It's likely that it stems from something personal. To improve it you'll need to look inwards and explore your thoughts and feelings. Kakashi knew why he was angry, he understood it perfectly. But Sasuke needed to control it, or someone else would, and they would use it against him as he did today. For your future, we'll work on your ninjutsu arsenal, expand upon what you know and add to it, so you're not so limited in choice that you have to adapt a jutsu to fit a different circumstance. Sasuke seemed unhappy about things. He didn't have the best day but seemed to perk up at the end. The boy craved strength, and expanding his knowledge of jutsu would do just that. Naruto. Kakashi sighed and wondered what to do about the revelations regarding him. Actually, follow me and we can report together. Kakashi thought that was the best choice. It would spare him having to explain to the Hokage secondhand, though Naruto looked entirely none too pleased about it. Perhaps the boy only showed off what he did to Kakashi himself and had no desire to tell the Hokage. It wasn't strictly necessary to tell the Hokage your moves. The clans would surely riot, but if he asked you something, you normally did it. Well guys, that's all. You are now officially Zenin of Konoha. Congratulations Team 7. This is our training ground. Meet me here tomorrow at 9 AM and we'll discuss our schedule then. With that said, Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder and then moved them to the Hokage's office. The front door was beautifully carved wood and you certainly felt like you were walking into somewhere almost sacred. After knocking, Kakashi received a "Come in" from beyond the door. The voice was aged and he knew exactly who it belonged to. The most powerful man in Konoha, the Hokage. He looked to Naruto and noticed the straight face. The boy was usually so carefree and apathetic. He hoped this was the right call. Opening the door, he guided Naruto into the room where they seen it filled to the brim with jonin, all reporting their team's success or failure. The Hokage looked to him and then Naruto and showed a little shock before once again facing him. Well, Kakashi, you're right on time. He spoke in a voice so aged but powerful. It commanded respect even after decades of gruesome choices and actions had weighed down on him. How did your test go? Something interesting happened. He spoke to Kakashi but clearly questioning the presence of the boy he brought with him. Hokage-sama, Kakashi said with a bow, showing the legend the respect he deserved. Team 7 under Jonin Hatake Kakashi. He paused to build tension in the room. He heard Naruto sigh and almost felt the eye roll but didn't let it show on his face. After all, he was staring down the room with an intense look. Past, he revealed with a light voice and smile in his closed eye. The room was in silence. Nobody wanted to be the one to breath and have him reveal it was a joke. But he never did, just kept smiling at them. No way. Yes way, Kakashi answered. And we've got quite the story to tell, right Naruto? Now with all eyes on him, Naruto cursed his sensei. This was ridiculous. Yeah, just don't try vote to kill me this time, or I'll take it personally. Oh, Kakashi thought. Maybe this wasn't a good idea. He laughed away the awkward silence in the room. Yeah, I'm going to hate this job. Hokage's office. Naruto was not particularly happy with his sensei. The man had carried him along to the Hokage's office, but apparently forgot, or didn't care, that it was currently occupied by all the other new Jonin sensei who were lined up in front of the Hokage's desk busy giving the final results and assessments of their new Genin teams. Only to then be interrupted by Kakashi arriving late and for some reason with one of said Genins in tow. It was no wonder they were all looking at him like that, although maybe they didn't like him either. His opening line might not have helped his case much there. He looked up into the eyes of a red-eyed woman, the one currently giving the report they had so rudely interrupted, given by her position a step forwards out of line towards the Hokage. She was looking back at them clearly annoyed, and his presence didn't seem to help. Though when she looked to him specifically and she caught his line of sight, the woman appeared to flinch very subtly, almost imperceivable, but she done so nevertheless. Not caring for her apparent issues meeting his eyes, Naruto instead studied the woman's chakra, and determined she was weak. At least in most areas anyway. He could see the size of her chakra, like a shroud surrounding her body, the size and opacity directly related to the chakra's amount and density. The larger the shroud, the larger the capacity, and the higher the opacity, the denser the chakra. This woman's shroud was comparatively small for a Jonin, It was undeniably unimpressive, and it was still comfortably see-through, meaning it was not very dense. However, there was one specific aspect that seemed impressive when Naruto looked a little deeper than the surface. The makeup of her chakra was highly imbalanced, drastically favoring the yin side of things, and leaving the yang in the dust. Chakra consisted of two separate but equal energies. Yin and yang, the spiritual and physical. Yin chakra was trained through meditation and improving one's mind and feelings. Yang chakra was trained through physical activity, improving the body's strength and stamina. Together both spiritual and physical energies formed chakra. Her chakra was suited to the more spiritual side of techniques. She was likely smart and introspective. She was clearly a genjutsu user. People who were ninjutsu specialists had vastly denser chakra as well as favoring yang as it provided the power. Kakashi was like that. He had a large shroud which was hard to see through, proving its density, and yang chakra flowed in abundance within his system, though his transplanted eye actually added to the yin in his chakra, meaning it was still at impressive levels. This was all irrelevant to current events though. Not that it actually mattered. All those deductions and thoughts occurred in how Naruto perceived time. For him the minute-long detailed breakdown only occurred within a second to the outside world. Such was the power of the six eyes. He didn't slow time per se, only he was able to think, perceive, deduce and consciously exist so much faster than everyone else. The six eyes were surely his greatest gift. The Mukujin was an incredible ability. Being able to manipulate space in many different ways, it opened up endless possibilities for offense and defense, but it could only reach its full potential when partnered with the eyes to support it. The six eyes granted Naruto with vast perception and immense brain processing power, allowing them to precisely manipulate the sophisticated powers of the limitless down to an atomic level. Each of the limitless techniques requires this type of complex chakra manipulation, making the pairing of the six eyes crucial to utilizing the limitless to its maximum potential. Though Naruto tried hard not to over-rely on them, he found that the more he burdened them the quicker he tired. The six eyes manage and utilize chakra extremely efficiently, to the extent that when Naruto uses a chakra technique the expenditure is so close to zero it's practically impossible to ever truly reach chakra exhaustion. But the eyes themselves use chakra to do so, meaning the more he relies on them to manage his chakra and help control and utilize his limitless techniques properly, the more strain he puts on them and himself. His greatest gift burdened him with his only true weakness. In truth, the only weakness of the six eyes is their immense power. They perceive so much in such extremely high detail that it can become too much to focus on, eventually all likely have to cover them to limit the information they process. Though I need them to use the basic limitless techniques currently. As I improve, I'll be able to use those without assistance, then only the advanced techniques will require them to be uncovered, assuming I ever manage to learn them anyway. For Kurenai the second she made eye contact with the boy at Kakashi's side she became entranced by the beauty of his eyes. She couldn't look away, but rather quickly they changed. Nothing physically changed in their appearance, but the feeling was so different. Rather than entrapped by beauty she was now horrified by their aura. She felt like she was falling into them, being pulled into a never-ending spiraled abyss. She was scared, actually frightened at these eyes which felt like they were hovering over her shoulder, watching everything and digging deep into her body. They were shaking her to her core, but thankfully the seemingly never-ending second was over when he looked away towards the Hokage behind her. She was breathing heavy and actually sweating. He had done nothing but glance at her for a second and this is what she was reduced to. What a horrible experience that was. What a demon. She hated that thought, but honestly, she now truly understood why people thought those eyes had such horrific origins. Naruto completely ignored the Jonin who was apparently having something of a panic attack. Perhaps I'm actually quite ugly, to inspire such a reaction from a beautiful woman. Single quote. Naruto smiled at the ludicrous thought. He briefly looked to the Hokage. The old man was ridiculous. Never before had Naruto seen such chakra. In both size and density he was unmatched. And yet there was still so much potential to be explored, so much these people just couldn't see or feel, sitting beyond their grasp, leaving the next stage forever out of their reach. The man seemed worried for his Jonin and gave him a speculative look before returning his attention to Kakashi, who was only looking more uncomfortable now than he had been. Serves him right. Stupid eye patch. Though that might not be a terrible idea, my headband would help block the overstimulation. Oh well, it's not necessary now, but for the future. Naruto considered the idea to lighten the burden he felt, but dropped it for now, instead focusing on how Kakashi was going to handle this. The man likely hadn't considered this idea much beyond bringing him here. Naruto smirked at his sensei. He would enjoy watching along as Kakashi attempted to resolve this. It would likely go up in flames and Naruto would be there to laugh at the man when it did. Not out of malice, of course, that would be cruel. Simply out of joy at seeing Kakashi mess up so badly. Well, not totally out of malice, at least, just a little bit. Well, Kakashi, what has happened for such an unprecedented situation to occur at this report? I'm sure you were aware of the time frame for this, yes? Naruto heard the Hokage ask. Surely something so important should be given center stage. Come, make your report, my boy. Kakashi already hated this job, and Naruto not so discreetly laughing at him wasn't helping things. The blonde looked like he wanted to point and make fun of him but was oh so admirably holding back. TCH, stupid kid, he's just mad I threw him earlier. Kakashi cleared his throat to ease himself into the uncomfortable situation. Hokage-sama, I have completed my test regarding the continuation of Team 7 consisting of Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura. I administered the bell test and after its conclusion have chosen to pass the team. Yes, you mentioned that. I'm thrilled you found a group who were able to prove themselves to you. I'm sure you'll make a fine teacher, my boy. Hiruzen replied, appreciating the official report and confirmation of the team's pass, but hoping to lead Kakashi onto the bigger topic. Thank you, Sandaime-sama. The reason for the rather unusual company for my report is due to some new information coming to light regarding his unique abilities. I thought you would like to know and assumed it was best to allow him to explain it himself so as to avoid misrepresenting some aspect of it. But perhaps it was a bad time. Kakashi in all honesty had forgot what time the others would have finished. He hadn't meant to have so many eyes on Naruto, a poor mistake that could lead to distrust. Perhaps the boy thought he was trying to pressure him into revealing all his secrets and brought him into a room of Jonin and the Hokage to force his hand. He'd need to talk with him later, but for now he could help allow the blonde to escape with his cards still by his chest. I apologize, Sandaime-sama. Please forgive Naruto's intrusion and consider it my own. It was a lapse of judgment. Please allow him to return home. We have an early start tomorrow. He hoped he hadn't accidentally made the old man curious. He seriously hadn't thought this through. Hiruzen looked at Kakashi for a few moments before taking a draw of his pipe and agreeing to the request. But before Naruto could fully leave, he spoke up to him. Naruto, my boy, I'm glad you're opening up with your team. It is vital they understand your skills and moveset. You don't need to tell them how to perform any techniques, but it's also not good to hide them from your team. It will only cause problems and indecision when you are forced to either reveal something or suffer the consequences. Indecision, even for a second, can kill, maybe not you but a teammate. Hiruzen spoke, having deduced the reason for Kakashi's 180, from hoping to have Naruto explain whatever ability he showed off, to trying to smuggle him out without needing to. He understood Naruto's reservations about discussing his abilities. Naruto had made them painfully clear with his first words in the room. He hadn't forgotten the events following the initial reveal of his eyes, the votes to kill him, as he put it. But he needed the boy to understand that refusing to use those abilities in fear or suspicion of everyone would only cause problems. I will not force you to reveal your powers to me, child, but you should not hesitate to use them to their fullest in the protection of your team and mission. With his piece said, the Hokage allowed Naruto to leave, turning to face Kakashi a few seconds after the door closed. That was indeed a lapse in judgment, Kakashi. I understand your wish to open him up, especially if he showed something new, which I assume he did. But he is not trusting of my position and those close to me. And unfortunately, your unforeseen punctuality coincidentally coincided with our scheduled report. Usually you're booked in 3 hours later than your peers. Apologies, Hokage-sama, I got ahead of myself. It's just he may be far more talented than we had previously estimated. The Jonin was thankful that went smoothly. He could make the standard report without worrying about prying ears and eyes. Indeed. While on the subject of his talent, are you okay, Kurenai dear? You seemed a little faint for a second there. Hiruzen was intrigued as to what happened. He almost thought it to be a genjutsu effect, but there had been no chakra used in that moment. It appears she had just experienced a panic attack. Kurenai looked down ashamed of her actions in front of her leader. To think he trusted me with leading a team of graduates and I can't even hold eye contact with a boy. She thought bitterly. She had never considered herself to be weak-willed. She proudly accepted her reputation as being cold, brought about by her policy on men attempting to hit on her. She was proud to think herself someone who did the title of kunoichi proud and reversed the stereotypes that they were not as capable as male shinobi. The very same way Senju Tsunade had proven her naysayers wrong during the Second Great War. But apparently, she had become arrogant or too comfortable in that belief. Straightening herself, she responded, "I'm fine, thank you Hokage-sama. It's just the first time I've truly seen his eyes. They were more intense than I was expecting. Forgive me, it won't happen again." She had previously believed a rumor that the boy had been faking them, that he was just seeking attention. Truly how far she had fallen, to allow rumors spread by biased civilians to impact on her perception of a subject. Hiruzen continued looking to her for a moment before smiling and accepting the answer with a nod. "Yes, they can be quite uncomfortable indeed, I've even experienced it myself." "Certainly. Fascinating though. The Kekkei Genkei we see today in clans such as the Uchiha or Hyuga are hundreds if not perhaps thousands of years old. They all have their origins in what we believe to be the founding of shinobi, even if we don't know the exact details of their creation or evolution. For a seemingly brand new one to appear as Naruto-kun's has is incredible. The professor was a man of much knowledge, it's the basis for his remarkable strength. He could see a jutsu performed once and deduce its components well enough to use it himself, so to be presented with such a question he had no answer to was as unlikely as it was exciting. Kakashi though wondered whether he should add on to that. "Naruto told me that he has two totally separate hereditary abilities. The limitless ability he briefly spoke of seems to be responsible for his combat prowess, at least in terms of true power. The six eyes almost seem supplementary to this new ability. They act as the foundation that allows him to build his skills, to use them to their fullest. If he had a child, would they inherit both? If not, would they be capable of truly using one without the other in an exceptional way?" Kakashi had a lot to think about. But Naruto said he'd tell him anyway. He would trust his new student to use these abilities to keep his teammates safe. If he done that, Kakashi could truly ask for no more. With the unexpected situation now resolved, Hiruzen could continue with the original reason for this gathering. He grabbed his pipe and began to address his jonin. "So, it's all settled then." The room turned their attention back to the Hokage and waited for him to finish his pipe before continuing. "The teams 1 to 6 have sadly not passed. They will be free to return to the academy, join the force as a probationary genin and await another jonin who wishes to take on a team, or even leave the shinobi program and find a life as a civilian. Those sensei who are within that bracket, you are free to continue your standard duties and are dismissed." With that, the 6 mentioned jonin left the office and Hiruzen focused on the 3 remaining in front of him. He was glad these 3 had passed their teams. He was sure they would raise fine young shinobi who would make him proud. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the majority of genin who passed this year are children of major clans, though more important than even just that. This year's group has much promise, that is for certain, but also, they are the children of clan heads and despite their age and inexperience hold power within the village's political climate. You are now in charge of raising those who will lead the village in years to come. I'm sure you will take this role seriously, but I want you to push them. I hope to make a good showing in the Chunin exams that will take place here in 6 months." Each sensei was surprised to hear the Sandaime push for them to enter a new team so quickly, but with the potential this year had, it could lead to a rousing victory for the Leaf in its home ground. It would make sense to push for a good showing in these next exams. Teams 7, 8 and 10 are now officially genin of Konoha. You are free to leave. Report to the mission desk whenever you choose to administer their first mission. I always enjoy the reactions to what their new life will entail. Hiruzen smiled thinking about it, especially Naruto's reaction. It would likely involve a lot of complaining and bragging, and he couldn't wait to see Kakashi deal with kids. With all said and done, the Hokage was left to deal with his paperwork he had been putting off. Though he couldn't help but wonder what new power Kakashi had wanted Naruto to explain. "I'm sure it's something incredible we've never seen before. I hope to see it during the upcoming exams. I'm positive Team 7 will make it there and surprise us all. Konoha Streets. Naruto. Having left the Hokage's office only a few minutes ago, Naruto found himself wandering the streets with nothing to do. It was still pretty early on in the day and he had no commitments other than meeting his new team and sensei tomorrow, for what he assumed would either be their first mission, or a training session revolving around operating within a group. Deciding to just take a wander around the village until he found something to do, he set off in no particular direction. Though he didn't have to wait long before he ran into some familiar faces. Some of the students from his class appeared to be heading into a beef barbecue restaurant. If he remembered correctly, they were Team 10, whose Jonin sensei he must have just met. Meeting Shikamaru and Choji at the door, he asked to join them briefly. Once seated inside, Naruto looked over his current company, finding himself intrigued as to their team's composition and purpose. Shikamaru and Choji paid him little attention. Well, Choji did anyway. The former was trying to act like he wasn't observing him by hiding his calculating eyes behind an air of indifference and lethargy, which likely wasn't totally fake. Shikamaru was a relatively tall, lanky boy with dark hair pulled into a spiky ponytail at the back of his head. He wore an open gray jacket over a chain shirt underneath. Naruto thought the boy had interesting powers. Dealing with shadows that at their base level restricted movement, but when wielded by experienced hands could do much more. The Nara had a lot of room to grow into. Choji was a kind, chubby boy with spiky brown hair held in a weird headband that allowed tufts of it to fall through the top while the rest was covered like a hat. He had swirl marks on his cheeks, not too dissimilar to the swirls on his shoulders, and wore a loose green jacket. Choji himself had interesting powers, the ability to increase his size and therefore power either in specific areas or over his whole body was perhaps much more one note in terms of use and strategy than his own powers or even his Nara friends were, but still a powerful ability. Lastly, Naruto turned his attention to Ino, who was just sitting down having been walking behind her two teammates, apparently none too pleased to be in their company. She was a pretty blonde, much like himself, with green eyes. She wore a purple top and matching skirt with bandages wrapped around her stomach, arms and legs. Her ability was interesting too, but better suited to psychological warfare and espionage than to direct battle. She was someone within his class he quite liked. She was fun and easy to annoy, but also quick-witted. She was very emotionally intelligent, a different type of smart to Shika and even Naruto himself to an extent. She understood people and wasn't afraid to use that to her advantage. She's someone I could get along with, good cop bad cop style. I'm the smart, strong and handsome one who solves all the mysteries, and she could be, well, maybe I don't need her to have fun, I'm enough on my own. Point is, she can make the rest of this day somewhat interesting. Considering your dismal face, Shika, I take it your team passed? Naruto asked while resting his head on his hand which was leaning on the windowsill. The addressed boy turned fully to him and let out a resigned sigh before answering. We did. Though I wish he didn't have us do that ridiculous obstacle course, the dark-haired boy grumbled. Choji picked up from his teammate. Asuma-sensei is nice though. He offered to pay for this meal and said he would meet us here after briefing the Hokage on the team. The boy spoke around a mouthful of beef. Oh, so you guys had to do an obstacle course, huh? That's interesting. It's quite different from the trial we went through, Naruto said to the table, though he continued in his thoughts. It seems each sensei had creative control over their own tests. They could test their potential team for any number of abilities and hidden potential just by tweaking their criteria. Kakashi wanted teamwork and so focused on that. This Asuma guy seemingly wanted to test mobility and quick thinking. It was a simple concept. Each sensei gets to test for aspects they most want in their teams. It means if you pass the test, the chemistry with your team and sensei is likely to be at least passable for mission work. Sometimes the most effective strategy is the simplest. There's no need for grand schemes all the time. Naruto already knew that Kakashi had influenced the test they had faced, but it was interesting nonetheless to see how the other sensei approached it differently. For the first time since he arrived, Ino spoke up, breaking him from his thoughts. Different. Well, whatever, I just can't wait to go on some missions. Maybe we'll get to save a handsome prince, with dark hair and nice eyes. He'll fall madly in love with my beauty and, though she had started off talking to Naruto, she quickly lost interest and fell into her love story. Naruto only laughed at the girl, which drew her ire. What? She spat. Can't a girl dream without being laughed at? She cast a glare at Shikamaru, who, although didn't laugh as brazenly as Naruto had, did let out a quiet, troublesome. It's not that, Ino. I don't think we're going to be doing anything like that for a while. The Nara supplied to distract Ino from his use of that word again. Though what he just said did catch Naruto's attention. Oh, now that is an interesting idea, my lazy friend. Why do you think that? Naruto gave a smirk but only leaned further back into his hand and closed his eyes. Had he not been the one to ask the question, you would assume he was as uninterested as the Nara. Giving a sigh at having to talk so much into someone as troublesome as Naruto, Shikamaru continued. It's just not logical. Sure, we're now officially genin and have a registered team, but we haven't had any time to train. It would be too risky to send naive and untested shinobi on missions that the village relies on for money. Firstly, it risks the village's reputation if they fail, and secondly, it risks future assets to the village. Losing a shinobi is a big hit, not only for profit but strong or upcoming shinobi serve as a deterrent of war. If Asuma-sensei or one of us were to get seriously hurt or killed because we weren't up to scratch, the village has a lot to lose both presently and in our potential future contributions. Finally finishing his speech, Shikamaru found himself leaning forward facing Naruto. His two teammates had been stunned into brief silence, having never considered the implications of missions and their outcomes too deeply. But while he registered their looks and voices now whispering behind him, he was focused on the boy sitting casually opposite him. Naruto was someone he couldn't figure out. The boy acted so stupid, but there were flashes. Flashes of something far more serious and far more sinister hiding behind those eyes of his. Shikamaru wasn't totally convinced that Uzumaki Naruto was a good person. It felt like an act, but to what end? He watched and waited for the reaction of the boy opposite him. He was sure to get a quick look at least at what lay beyond what Naruto allowed others to see. Naruto sat forward slowly and remained still for a second, but it felt like an hour to him. The tension was getting palpable, his hands beginning to sweat as he rubbed and fumbled with them. Then, "Aw man, you're totally right." Naruto shot up abruptly, looking panicked, eyes wide and hand running through his hair. "I can't believe I thought we would finally do something cool," he complained. He let out a sigh, looking for all the world like someone told him his pet just died. "Well, I'll see you guys some other time," he said, leaving with a rain cloud over his head and dragging his heels out the door. After a small disbelieving silence, Ino spoke once more. Sigh, what an idiot. I can't believe that guy is so strong. He's so immature, honestly. I thought he was going to say something interesting. Ino grumbled behind the Nara as she pouted her lips and kicked her feet together. Well, Naruto has always been a bit unpredictable, the ever-kind Choji spoke, while once more reaching for some beef. Shikamaru, though, couldn't help but feel nervous. He had also thought Naruto was actually going to answer his speech with a serious response. He had been pulled in by his body language and presence, and was fully expecting anything but what Naruto had actually said. That had to be intentional. Was Naruto messing with him? Did he just go through all that to annoy him? Or was he actually looking to gain something, and if he left, did he gain whatever it was he was looking for? Resting back against the chair, the intelligent Nara watched Naruto wander away from the window. The blonde boy was still walking like someone shot him, bawling his eyes out and annoying the people nearby who looked as frustrated as he felt. With that, a ringing noise brought his attention behind him into the door where Asuma was entering with a smile. Man, this day cannot get any more troublesome, he thought with a mental sigh. Naruto, however, was having a blast, walking up to people and pretending to cry on their clothes and even blowing his nose on a man's sleeve. Having made enough of a scene, he stood up properly, gave the passing people a wink and smile before disappearing, leaving only his joyous laughter behind. After all, he had a big day tomorrow. Well, Shika sure is a smart kid, a little boring, but we can't all be perfect. Naruto considered the words the Nara had said. He had been sure there was more to come from his sensei and had come to a similar conclusion to his shadowy friend. It was unlikely that such green behind the ears shinobi would be given anything of relevance to do. They would contribute in other far less exciting ways. He liked the Nara though, smart, cautious and perceptive. A little too easy to deceive, but he would only get better with experience. Arriving inside his apartment after successfully wasting a little bit of the day, he sat by his desk and waited for the day to end.